Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोकी भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम् ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानजानशालाकस्य चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नाम्ने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। श्रीमद् भागवतम कैंटो 12 chapter 6 text 47, right?
I'm checking Mataji. I think I sent in the mobile. I'm just checking it.
Yeah.
40.
No, 45. Okay. Putran apayattamstu brahmarshin brahmako vidan te tu dharmopadeshtara swaputrebhya samadishan. Brahma taught these Vedas to his sons, who were great sages among the Brahmanas and experts in the art of Vedic recitation. They in turn took the role of acharyas and imparted the Vedas to their own sons. ते परंपर्या प्राप्तास तच्चिष्यैर दृढव्रतैः चतुर्युगेष्वतव्यस्ता द्वापराधो महर्षिभिः. In this way, throughout the cycles of 4 ages, generation after generation of disciples, all firmly fixed in their spiritual vows, have received these Vedas by disciplic succession. At the end of each Dwapar Yuga, the Vedas are edited into 4 separate divisions by eminent sages. So only for the Kali Yuga, all these changes need to be done. Otherwise, these sages, because it's within their own family, and they are ensured that they're trained and they passes on. And so the Vedas are intact. It's not tampered with. Kshina Yusha Kshina Satvan Durmedhan Vikshakalata Vedhan Brahmarashayo Vyasyan Hridi Stachyutak Chodita. Observing that people in general were diminished in their lifespan, strength, and intelligence by the influence of time, great sages took inspiration from the personality of Godhead sitting within their hearts and systematically divided the Vedas. So the sages, how do they know that they have to do that? Because they got the inspiration from the personality of Godhead sitting within their hearts. So actually everything is done by Krishna. And so the sages are just meditating, and whatever the Lord inspires them to do, they do. They're not that's what the minute we surrender and are meditating on Krishna, then everything happens perfectly. And asmin api antare brahman bhagavan loka bhavana brahmeshadhyair lokapaler yachito dharma guptaye parasarat satyavatyam amsham shakalaya vibhu avatirno mahabhaga Vedam Chakre Chaturvidam. O Brahmana, in the present age of Vaivasvata Manu, the leaders of the universe, led by Brahma and Shiva, requested the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the protector of all the worlds, to save the principles of religion. O most fortunate Shaunaka, the Almighty Lord, exhibiting a divine spark of a portion of his plenary portion, then appeared in the womb of Satyavati as the son of Parashara. In this form named Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa, he divided the one Veda into four. So in the other ages, in the other yuga cycles, because it says, at the end of each Dwapara Yuga, the Vedas are edited into separate divisions by eminent sages. But in this particular, our Vaivasvata Manu's present thing where Krishna appeared, so at that time, all the leaders of the universe, led by Brahma and Shiva, requested the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so himself, to save the principles of religion. Maybe because Krishna was here at that time. May other yuga cycles, Krishna doesn't appear. And since Krishna is already there, so they asked him to save the principles of religion. And the Almighty Lord, exhibiting a divine spark of a portion of his plenary portion. So Amsha, Kalamsha part came, then appeared in the womb of Satyavati as the son of Parashara. In this form named Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa, he divided the one Veda into four. Rig Atharva Yajur Sam Nam Rashir Udhritya Vargasha Chatasra Samhitas Chakre Mantrer Manigana Iva. Srila Vyasadeva separated the mantras of the Rig, Atharva, Yajur, and Samavedas into four divisions, just as one sorts out a mixed collection of jewels into piles. Thus he composed four distinct Vedic literatures. When Lord Brahma first spoke the four Vedas with his four mouths, the mantras were mixed together like an unsorted collection of various types of jewels. Srila Vyasadeva sorted the Vedic mantras into four divisions or samhitas, which thus became the recognizable Rig, Atharva, Yajur, and Samaveda. Because all the four mouths were simultaneously repeating. One mouth was reciting Yajur, one Rig, and one Sama, and the Atharva, like that. So it all got mixed up. And they were mixed together like an unsorted collection of various types of jewels. So suppose from four sources jewels are pouring down, then they will naturally get mixed up, and then someone has to come and sort it out, which is what Vedavyas did. Tasam sa chatura shishyan upahooya mahamati ekaikam samhitam brahman ekaikasmai dadau vibhu. The most powerful and intelligent Vyasadeva called four of his disciples, O Brahmana, and entrusted to each of them one of these four samhitas. Pailaya samhitam adyam Bahvrichakyam uvachah Vaisampayana samgnaya Nigadakyam Yajurghanam Samnam Jaimanaye Praha Tata Chandoga Samhitam Atharvangirasam Angirasim Nama Swashishyaya Sumantave. Srila Vyasadeva taught the first Samhita, the Rig Veda, to Paila and gave this collection the name Bahvricha. To the sage Vaishampayana, he spoke the collection of Yajur mantras named Nigada. He taught the Samaveda mantras designated as the Chandoga Samhita to Jaimini. And he spoke the Atharva Veda to his dear disciple Sumantu. To his dear, which is Nigada. Nigadakyam Yajur Gunam. So gave his collection to the sage Vaisampayana. He spoke the collection of Yajur Vedas. Jaimini got Samaveda and Atharva to Sumantu. So Paila, Vaisampayana, Jaimini and Sumantu. Pailasva Samhitamuche Indra Pramitaye Munihi Bhaskalaya Chasopya Shishyebhya Samhitam Swakam Chaturdha Vyasya Bodhyaya Yagnavalkyaya Bhargava Parasaraya Nimitra Indra Pramatir Atmavan Ardha Ardhapayat Samhitam Swam Mandukeyam Rishim Kavim Tasya Shishyo Devam Mitra Saubhari Adibhya Uchivan. After dividing the Samhita into two parts, the whatever was given to Paila, the Rig Veda, he divided it into two parts. The wise Paila spoke to Indra Pramiti and Bhaskala. Bhaskala further divided his collection into four parts. O Bhargava, and instructed them to his disciples Bodhya, Yagnavalkya, Parasara, and Agnimitra. Parasara must be another Parasara, not Vyasdev's father. Indra Pramati, the self-controlled sage, taught his Samhita to the learned mystic Mandukeya, whose disciple Devamitra later passed down the division of the Rig Veda to Saubhari and others. According to Srila Sridhara Swami, Mandukeya was the son of Indra Pramiti, from whom he received the Vedic knowledge. So, Bhargava instructed them to his disciples Bodhya, Yagnavalkya, Parasara, and Agnimitra. Indra Pramiti, the self-controlled sage, taught his Samhita to the learned mystic Mandukeya, whose disciple Devamitra later passed down the divisions of the Rig Veda to Saubhari and others. So to learn the Vedas, one has to be very, very austere, and we can understand how spiritual it is that only such self-realized sages, great sages, very, very self-controlled, they could understand and also learn it and recite it. And when they recited it, it had immediate effect. Where Vedas were so powerful, and that's where the Brahmanas, they were really consulted and also worshipped. They were even considered above the kings, and the kings used to consult them for everything. So powerful they were. That's why the kings automatically, they were physically powerful, but they knew that the Brahmana sages were spiritually very powerful, and their material power was nothing in front of their spiritual potency. When Vasishta showed it to, what's his name? Vishwamitra, because Vishwamitra was a king and he was very powerful. He was ruling over the whole earth. And so he thought, though he accepted Vasishta Muni as a great sage and he was working on, he was respecting him. And that's why when he finished 1 year of touring around the world, he went to actually get his blessings. That's all. He just wanted his blessings. But Vasishta Muni, He had Nandini cow, and so he said, no, come, you all must be so famished. 1 year traveling, you wouldn't have had enough food and proper food. So then Vishwamitra was wondering how he can afford. So Vishwamitra was quite gross in the beginning. He never knew what is the power of the Brahmanas with regard to even, having this opulence of the Nandini cow. The Brahmanas, if they have it, they don't misuse it. He was just feeding whoever came, visitors, who he thought, and for themselves also, because they didn't have any other means of livelihood. And Vishwamitra was surprised to see the opulence of that Nandini cow, which could feed a full battalion of soldiers who were all very famished, and they just gorged themselves. And still, as much as they wanted, the food kept on coming. And Vishwamitra became envious. He had all these gross faults in the beginning. And so he didn't, and then he was amazed. And he tried to attack Vasishta, and Vasishta happily protected himself with just his staff and mantras. And he thought, what? This is the power of sages. I don't want to be Kshatriya anymore. I thought Kshatriyas are the most powerful. And then this Vasishta is showing so much more power than me. And not only that, Nandini cow got so angry. No, they actually, because Vasishta Muni, because Vishwamitra told him, why do you have this Nandini cow with you? It is, I, the king, should have it. Right? And because I have all the time people coming, I need to feed so many people. Why do you need? You give it to me. And Vasishta said, no, this is a gift. Lord Shiva had gifted it to him. I cannot give it. And anyway, we require. He thought only he deserves it, Vishwamitra. And so he used his physical power to get Nandini cow. And the army attacked Vasishta and he countered everything. Not only that, when they attacked, Nandini's stomach, so many soldiers jumped out and then they just defeated and killed all the soldiers. And those soldiers, after killing them, they went back inside Nandini cow's stomach. And seeing all this, he was just totally flabbergasted. Oh, you, what is this? Brahmana, I thought Vasishta, weak person sitting in the forest and meditating. I was just, patronizing he was. He thought he is very strong and, he is the king. And then that's when he renounced being a Kshatriya and he wanted to be a Brahmana. So we can see the power of the Brahmanas, and Sanskrit is such an exalted language. And only through this spiritual, spiritual progress or spiritual, through austerities and meditation, then one gets the qualification to recite. And that's why nowadays hardly anybody recites properly. Even the so-called Brahmanas, I don't know with how much concentration, and who can check whether they're chanting properly or they're making mistakes even, because nobody even knows what they're doing. So that is why it's a farce. But of course, there are still Vedic pathshalas where they're training the children nicely. They're living very Brahminical lives, like Gurukula is still happening in South India, at least, maybe in the North also, of course. And so in this way, Vedic knowledge was handed down in disciplic succession. Sakalyastat sutta swam tu panchadha vyasya samhitam Vatsyamudgalasalya Kokalya Shishireshva Adhat. The son of Mandukeya, named Sakalya, divided his own collection, whatever he got from son of Mandukeya. Divided his own collection into 5, entrusting one subdivision each to Vatsya, Mudgala, Salya, Gokalya, and Shishira. Jatukarnyascha tachishya saniruptam swasamhitam balaka paila jabala virajebhyo dadau muni. The sage Jatukarnya was also a disciple of Sakalya. And after dividing the Samhita he received from Sakalya into 3 parts, he added a 4th section, a Vedic glossary. He taught one of these parts to each of his 4 disciples, Balaka, Paila, Jabala, and Viraja. Bhaskali assembled the Valikalya Samhita, a collection from all the branches of the Rig Veda. This collection was received by Valayani, Bhajya, and Kasara. According to Srila Sridhara Swami, Valayani, Bhajya, and Kasara belong to the Daitya community. Bahvricha Samhita hi eta ebir brahmarishabir drita Shutvai tachandasam vyasam sarva pape pramuchate. Thus, these various samhitas of the Rig Veda were maintained through the disciplic succession by the saintly Brahmanas. Simply by hearing of this distribution of the Vedic hymns, one will be freed from all sins. Vaishampayana Shishya Vai Charakad Varyavo Bhavan Yaccherur Brahma Hatyamava Kshapanam Swa Gurur Vratam. The disciples of Vaishampayana became authorities in the Atharva Veda. They were known as Charakas because they executed strict vows to free their guru from a sin of killing a Brahmana. So Atharva Veda, they were known as disciples of Vaishampayana, Charakas, because they executed strict vows to free their guru from a sin of killing a Brahmana. Who's their guru? Vaishampayana. பட் நீ இப்பதானே வந்த 8 மணிக்கு. ஆமா, நீ ரொம்ப 1/2 மணி கூட பண்ணல நீ. ஆமா, நான் பார்த்தேனே. சரி, நாளைல இருந்து நம்ம டைம் நோட் பண்ணி சரியா பண்ணிருக்கியா? याज्ञवल्क्यस्त तच्चिष्य आहाहो भगवान कियत् चरितेनाल्प शरणं चरिष्येऽहं दुश्चरम्. Once Yajnavalkya, one of the disciples of Vaishampayana, said, "O Master, how much benefit will be derived from the feeble endeavors of these weak disciples of yours? I will personally perform some outstanding penance." Iti ukto gurur api aha kupito yahi alam tvaya viprava mantra shishyena mad aditam tyajasviti. Addressed thus, the spiritual master Vaishampayana became angry and said, "Go away from here. Enough of you, O disciple who insults Brahmanas. Furthermore, you must immediately give back everything I have taught you. Sri Vaishampayana was angry because of one of his disciples, Yajnavalkya, was insulting the other disciples who were after all qualified Brahmanas. Just as a father is disturbed, when one son mistreats the father's other children, the spiritual master is very displeased if a proud disciple insults or mistreats the guru's other disciples. So there's a great deal of thing to know while doing service, the proper etiquettes. Without insulting anyone, everyone is trying to do their best. And the Guru accepts everyone's service. We may not understand what others are doing. And ultimately, we don't have the right to criticize. Guru knows himself. And it's only because a proud disciple, imagine he had so much pride, he said, how much benefit will be derived from the feeble endeavors of these weak disciples of yours? I'll personally perform some outstanding penance. Actually, Yajnavalkya was not a devotee. He was more like a mental speculator, Jnani type of person. That's why he was. Yajnavalkya, the son of Devaratha, then vomited the mantras of the Yajur Veda and went away from there. The assembled disciples looked greedily upon these Yajur hymns, assumed the form of partridges, and picked them all up. These divisions of the four Yajur Veda therefore became known as the most beautiful Taittiriya Samhita, the hymns collected by the partridges. Tittiraha, partridges are called Tittiraha. Yajnavalkyastato brahmams chandamsi adhigaveshyayam gurur avidhyamanani supataste erkam ishwaram. My dear Brahmana Shaunaka, Yajnavalkya then desired to find out new Yajur mantras, unknown to even his spiritual master. With this in mind, he offered attentive worship to the powerful Lord of the Sun. So, a very nice example of a disciple who wants to outdo his guru. That's right. Sri Yajnavalkya said, I offer my respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appearing as the sun. You are present as the controller of the four kinds of living entities, beginning from Brahma and extending down to the blades of grass. Just as the sky is present both inside and outside every living being, you exist both within the hearts of all as the super soul and externally in the form of time. Just as the sky cannot be covered by the clouds present within it, you are never covered by any false material designation, by the flow of years, which are made up of the tiny fragments of time called kshanas, lavas, and nimeshas. You alone maintain this world, drying up the waters and giving them back as rain. So Yajnavalkya wanted to get something special. He didn't realize that Vedavyas, no, that is Vaisampayana. And so he prayed to the Surya. Not Surya Bhagwan, but what is he called? Surya, the one we address Brahma Gayatri to. Gayatri mantra is Surya Narayana. So he worshipping him. I offer my respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead appearing as the sun. You are present as the controller of the 4 kinds of living entities, beginning from Brahma and extending down to the blades of grass. Just as the sky is present both inside and outside every living being, you exist both within the hearts of all as Supersoul and externally in the form of time. Just as the sky cannot be covered by the clouds present within it, you are never covered by any false material designation, by the flow of years, which are made up of the tiny fragments of time called kshanas, lavas, and nimishas. You alone maintain this world, drying up the waters and giving them back as rain. So he's glorifying the Supreme Personality of God as Surya Narayana. This prayer is not offered to the sun god as an independent or autonomous entity, but rather to the Supreme Personality of Godhead represented by his powerful expansion, the solar deity. O glowing one, no, read the Sanskrit. Yad uha vava vibudarshaba savitair adastapati anusvanam ahar amnaya vidinopatishtam mananam akila dhuritas vijrina bija vabarjana bhagavatah samad samad no samabhidhimahi tapana mandalam. O glowing one, O powerful Lord of the sun, you are the chief of all the demigods. I meditate with careful attention on your fiery globe, because for those who offer prayers to you 3 times daily, according to the Vedic method passed down through authorized disciplic succession, you burn away all sinful activities, all consequent suffering, and even the original seed of desire. You are personally Ya iha vavastira chara nikaranam nija niketananam man indriyasu ghanan anatmana swayam atmantar yami prachodhyati. You are personally present as the indwelling Lord in the hearts of all moving and non-moving beings who depend completely on your shelter. Indeed, you animate their material minds, senses, and vital airs to act. So here's very deep realization about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's there, indwelling Lord in the hearts of all moving and non-moving beings who depend completely on your shelter. Indeed, you animate their material minds, senses, and vital airs to act. Ya evamam lokam atikarala vadanandakara samgnya jagara graha gilitam mritakam iva vichetanam avalokyanukampaya paramakarunика ईक्षयै भूताप्याहर ahar anusavanam shreyasi swadharmakyatma atma vastane pravartayati. The world has been seized and swallowed by the python of darkness in its horrible mouth and has become unconscious, as if dead. But mercifully glancing upon the sleeping people of the world, You raise them up with the gift of sight. Thus, you are most magnanimous. At the three sacred junctures of the earth, day, you engage people, you engage the pious in the path of ultimate good, inducing them to perform religious duties that situate them in their spiritual position. According to Vedic culture, the three higher classes of society, the intellectual, political, and mercantile sections, are formally connected with the spiritual master by initiation and receive the Gayatri mantra. This purifying mantra is chanted 3 times daily at sunrise, noon, and sunset. Auspicious sentiments, auspicious moments for the performance of spiritual duties are calculated according to the sun's path in the sky, and the systematic scheduling of spiritual duties is here attributed to the sun as the representative of God. So Yajnavalkya is praying to the Lord to do something about the situation, because he's not happy with the work of the other sages. But mercifully glancing upon the sleeping people of the world, you raise them up with the gift of sight. Thus, you are most magnanimous. At the three sacred junctures of each day, you engage the pious in the path of the ultimate good, inducing them to perform religious duties that situate them in their spiritual position. So he's saying that the three upper castes, those who are three higher classes of society, that is the intellectual Brahmanas, political Kshatriyas, and mercantile Vaishyas, are somehow become they are formally connected with the spiritual master by initiation and receive the Gayatri mantra. So Brahmanas, Vaishyas, Shudras can all get Diksha. Okay. And so the auspicious moments for the performance of spiritual duties are calculated according to sun's path in the sky. So we know how to, we decide the muhurta and all that, which is auspicious moments. And this is based, calculated according to the sun's path in the sky. And this systematic scheduling of spiritual duties is here attributed to the sun as a representative of God. So that is what he's glorifying Krishna, who does this. He says, just like an earthly king, you travel about everywhere, spreading fear amongst the unholy, as the powerful deities of the directions offer you in their folded palms lotus flowers and other respectful presentations. So Krishna, in the form of the 8 directions, is saying that the Lord, I mean, traveling all directions like an ordinary king, but Krishna himself is the directions. So, all the unholy people, the Asuric people, they're all, to stop them. You travel about everywhere spreading fear. He gives them fear, the unholy people. Therefore, my Lord, I am prayerfully approaching your lotus feet, which are honored by the spiritual masters of the three worlds, because I hope to receive from you mantras of the Yajur Veda unknown to anyone else. So this is what? This is a major, anartha. We can see where he wants to outdo the other disciples. And the spiritual master showed him, he showed his displeasure. He said that, he threw him away from there. In fact, he rejected him. He said, go away from here. Enough of you, O disciple who insults Brahmanas. He was kicked out from there, but still he came and prayed to the Lord. But he's showing his anartha to Krishna also. He's saying that you quietly give me some mantras which others don't know. Suta uvacha evam stuta sa bhagavan vajirupa daroravi yajumshi ayata yamani munaye adat prasadati. Suta Goswami said, satisfied by such glorification, the powerful sun god assumed the form of a horse and presented to the sage Yajnavalkya Yajur mantras previously unknown in human society. So the sun god assumed the form of a horse and gave Yajnavalkya Yajur mantras, which were previously not known in the human society. Yajurbir akarochaka dashapancha shatair vibhu jagruhur vajasanyasta kanva madhyan dinadaya. From these countless hundreds of mantras of the Yajur Veda, the powerful sage compiled 15 new branches of the Vedic literatures. These became known as Vajasanayi Samhita because they are promised from these countless hundreds of mantras of the Yajur Veda. To the Lord, he became satisfied with his glorification and he assumed the form of a horse and presented to the sage Yajnavalkya, which earlier was unknown in human society. So, from these countless hundreds of mantras of the Yajur Veda, the powerful sage compiled 15 new branches of Vedic literature. These became known as the Vajasaneyi Samhita because they were produced from the hairs of the horse's mane and they were accepted in disciplic succession by the followers of Kanva, Madhyandina, and other rishis. Jaimine Samagasyasit Sumantas Tanayo Munihi Satvamstu Yat Samantas Tanayo Munihi Satvamstu Tat Sutastabheyam Ekaikam Praha Samhitam. Jaimini Rishi, the author of the Samaveda, had a son named Sumantu, and the son of Sumantu was Sutvan. The sage Jaimini spoke to each one of them a different part of the Samaveda Samhita. That is the Samaveda. Yajurveda was the one taken up by Vaisampayana, and then we have one of his disciples actually rejecting, or rather, he was rejected by his guru for his offensive behavior. And even though, I mean, he was still a rishi, even though he had this anartha, and he prayed to the Lord very nicely, and the Lord obliged him. And then Jaimini Rishi, so the sage Jaimini spoke to each of his sons different part of the Samaveda Samhita. Sukarma, another disciple of Jaimini, was a great scholar. He divided the mighty tree of Samaveda into 1,000 Samhitas. Then, O Brahmana, 3 disciples of Sukarma, Hiranyanabha, the son of Kushala, Paushyanji, and Avantya, was very advanced in spiritual realization, took charge of the Sama mantras. Okay, so the Samaveda was divided into 1,000 Samhitas by Sukarma. But Sukarma's 3 disciples, who were also very advanced in spiritual realization, took charge of the Sama mantras. Uditya Samagha Shishya Asan Pancha Shatani Vai Paushyanji Avantyayoschapi Tamscha Prachan Prachakshate. The 500 disciples of Paushyanji and Avantya became known as the northern singers of the Samaveda, and in later times, some of them also became known as eastern singers. So the Samaveda is sung, is very beautiful, and Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita that of Vedas, I am the Samaveda. 5 of the disciples of Paushyanji, namely Logakshi, Mangali, Kulya, Kushida, and Kukshi, each received 100 Samhitas. Kritha, the disciple of Hiranyanabha, spoke 24 Samhitas to his own disciples, and the remaining collections were passed down by the self-realized sage Avantya. So it continues about the Atharva Veda in the next chapter. But we see how it is Vedas are such exalted literature, the scriptures, which are arising from the Lord's own, heart, and it's being sent to Brahma, and Brahma receives it in the subtle form, and then it comes out in the form of sound from his the knowledge which was passed into the akasha of his heart. And from there, it manifested itself in gross sound form through 4 of his mouths. And then, very carefully, great sages who were meditating for years and years and with great mental and this control, sense control, they received it. So it is given so much importance because without Vedas, we'll be finished. And that is where the Asuras are always trying to capture the Vedas. They don't want Vedic life because that will take us closer to God, and that will always keep us in spiritual realization. And they don't want us, they want just sense gratification. The same thing happened when the British came, and they didn't want the Indians to follow all these Vedic things, and then they stopped it and took away some of our texts also, and they stopped the education. They said, you're not supposed to study all this. This is all for very, very backward. It is not at all progressive. You should all become like us. And so they started the thing, but they themselves stole those texts and took it. If they really thought it was so backward, why did they have to steal it from us? And really, I mean, the kind of torture these British have done, they have not suffered for their sins yet. Really, they have, I mean, the extent to which they have tortured the Indians is not even revealed in the history textbooks. Now only slowly they are revealing. what kind of, not just taking taxes, taking people's land, and then converting them, their religion. Even the padres were going around, they also wanted to spread Christianity. So they didn't mind. They were also going along with them and doing conversion on the one hand, and then stopping our education, condemning our religion, ridiculing the religion, and so much of physical torture. And the kind of fight that have been put up by Indians all over the country, in different regions, all people have had heroes who, I mean, this is the armed rebellion. On the one hand, Gandhiji was doing ahimsa, but there were many people who were actually fighting the British, many of them. And over the ages, not Gandhi came in the 20th century, but from the 18th century itself, there were so many people who fought so bravely and gave up their lives. And we are just sitting here without even realizing what great sacrifices have gone to. Why did they do it? It was not just they were safeguarding their, wealth or land. That anybody will do. But they gave up their lives because they had a great respect for our, our spiritual traditions. I mean, spiritual knowledge. Everything was being a spiritual culture, which was also being destroyed and condemned, and all these things. So they fought for it to keep our motherland from the clutches of, because they knew how degrading their lifestyle was. Most of the time they'll be drinking or womanizing. This was their culture, so-called culture, and which they were very proud, because they wore some very nice looking pants, and so there's decoration, and they saw that the Indians were just wearing dhoti, most of them nothing on the chest, and they thought that is very uncivilized. So really, they don't know the spiritual culture. Even now, they don't know. That's why Hinduism, hardly anybody understands what is Hinduism, because this is what is really the spiritual force. And we must, by hearing about how much the Vedas are so powerful, the mantras, so many mantras you have to learn and chant, and see how kind Krishna is. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is given even a more powerful mantra in the form of Hare Krishna mantra, no rules for chanting it. It's very simple also. Anybody, even the Chinese, can say Ale Klitna, and it'll have effect. That kind of mantra, how much we must value it, because from the mantra manifests everything. We may think what these sages are doing, they're just sitting and meditating. We're all very active. We're all able to do something proper in this age of Kali only because of the meditation of these great sages. That is how powerful their vibrations are. And some amount of auspiciousness and goodness, everything is still existing only because of the meditation of these great sages who are in the Himalayas and also different forests. They're sitting and meditating for our benefit. And so we must use this mantra. And for us, we don't even have to sit and meditate like them. We just have to chant. That's all. Chant, but mind should be absorbed in the sound. That's all. So we can appreciate better the sound vibration, how powerful it is. And we should not give excuses. Oh, I have this problem, that problem, I'm very busy, and so on. Because we can see that the gross is a manifestation of the subtle. And the problems are there because of a mind not being okay. Subtly it is disturbed, and so it is having its effect on all our external factors. And so that is why by chanting Hare Krishna mantra with a controlled mind, then that sound vibration will automatically make everything around us proper. That is the thing. Otherwise, why the sages will sit and meditate and chant, have complete faith in the mantras, complete faith in the super soul in their hearts. For them, super soul is not just theory, it's an actual fact. And they're reciting this and they're doing the greatest service. And we realize that when we see a sage, still Indians know that. Rather than the younger generation, they don't know anything about all these things. But at least those who are, but even the younger generation, if they're watching all Ramayana, Mahabharata, all these serials, they know what are the sages. They are very powerful, empowered entities. And so we can better appreciate. But Krishna is saying that more where even Vedic hymns, where they stop off, where what they cannot give you, Hare Krishna mantra can give you, which is love for Krishna. Vedas cannot give you us love for Krishna, which Hare Krishna mantra can give everything that the Vedas can give, plus love for Krishna. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, simply chant Hare Krishna mantra. And if the mantra is chanted better and better, it will have a all-round better effect on this world. Everything is coming only from mantras. So that is why these sages, they are just, okay, they know Kali Yugas like this. They don't even come here. They sit there and meditate and chant, all for our benefit. Okay. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments?
Mataji, Hare Krishna. Thank you. That was a nice ending to the, if not more chronological order of the Vedas coming down. The end was very nice. But here the Yajnavalkya's attitude was somehow not befitting, but still he was blessed by the Lord. That is little inconsistency you find. I mean,
Yeah, that is because for the Vedas, you don't require that level of purity. For Hare Krishna mantra, if you do like this for preaching or something, you are puffed up and you say, I'll do better. Or even writing Bhagavatam, Vallabhacharyanu, he told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he criticized what this one had written, Sridhar Swami's commentaries, and he thought he's doing better. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't even listen to his Purana, Bhagavatam. He completely ignored him. He said, no, I'm not qualified to listen to your Bhagavatam and all that. Because for devotion, you need greater purity. That's why no anartha, even things like I'm the best devotee or I need to know something secretly keeping for myself, I will not teach others so that I'll be very special. All that is completely condemned in devotion. Prabhupada, in fact, he taught all the recipes and all to Yamuna Mataji, and she used to cook. And there were some other Matajis were assisting her. So one day he asked Yamuna Mataji, have you taught everything to all these Matajis? And she kept quiet, and the Mataji said, no, Prabhupada, she didn't teach us. So Prabhupada said, you have to teach everything. Whatever you know, you should teach. Otherwise, you will become envious or proud or whatever. Envious, because that means you want to be special. You want to keep some knowledge for yourself, which others don't have, so that you will be always special. That is all in, sages can do that, but a pure devotee, I mean, in this, if you want bhakti, you cannot do that. So bhakti requires greater purity, mental purity, actually. Then even this, they undergo much more tapasya, much more self-control and mind control to a large extent, but ultimately the false ego part is still there. Only when you surrender completely to Krishna, it's all for you, Krishna. I don't want anything from all this. I'm just your servant. That is when we can give up all these, desires, subtle desires. I want to be the best disciple, or I will not share with everyone some special knowledge I have. All that is not allowed in pure devotional service. Then that is very much prominent in a pure devotee's character. And here, on the other hand, what they're doing, they're just collecting it and distributing it, and that doesn't require so much purity. Like even among devotees, you see, Up to some one level, devotees, even with anarthas, they're doing a lot of things, right? I mean, like things like which you can do. I mean, there are so many things, different levels of purity by which you can achieve many things. But finally, if you want to, what you call, be effective as a preacher, or have Krishna Prem, or empower people, or yourself be empowered and all, with regard to preaching and all, you have to be very pure. If you have to do some other thing which doesn't require that much purity, also you're able to do. So like that, these Vedic things, just dividing it and all that, doesn't require that much purity. And anyway, he was pure to a large extent. So the Lord allowed them to do that.
Yeah, get it, Mataji. That's a very nice. Yeah.
Krishna. Okay, thank you. So we go for prayers. Soulness Jeptak Swami, Guru Maharaj, he is now wanting to go to Mayapur for the Vyasa Puja. So we pray that he should be the doctor, I mean, his all the international doctors, all the devotee doctors are telling him, don't go, but he wants to go. Oh, he's got a lot of medical issues, so that's why. But in his heart, he wants to go. And Sarin is saying he can go. Oh, acha, there are some serious issues, it seems, by which even Dr. Sarin is saying is not very this thing about his positive about his going to Mayapur. So we'll pray very hard. That is his desire to be there. It is his 75th year. I mean, his birthday. So it's very special. Diamond Vyas Puja, diamond anniversary. So maybe because of that, because who will go to Delhi and Vrindavan and all if he does? I don't know how many people will be there. So we hope he's able to go. So let us chant 3 times for his speedy recovery and good health. Let us chant Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Rama Rama.
Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna.